Hi everyone. Today I'm going to show you how to import and export projects in the Grid Designer. Import and export can be used to make a backup of your projects or to create libraries of your projects for later use. The first part of this video is going to be a description of how you can back up and restore your projects if you need to. And the second half of the video will discuss creating libraries of projects and how you can save and retrieve projects from them. The Grid Designer currently saves your projects to your browser's local storage. The project will be available to you after you close the Grid Designer tab and will also be there even when the browser is restarted. However, there may be times when issues occur in your browser for some unforeseen reason, and the browser's local storage may need to be cleared to handle some browser issue. Doing this, will affect a lot of your websites and can wipe out data like your passwords and things like that you might have saved and that they're using to log you in, that kind of thing. So those kinds of things can be disruptive. So it's something that should happen only in an unusual situation. However, that can occur. Also, if you're sharing your computer with others in the family or they use the same browser as you, they could clear the browser storage for some reason and may not know how that will affect you and what you've saved. So the way that is things are cleared, let me show the settings in this is in Chrome, Google Chrome, which is a free browser. It's the one that I use most of the time. There is a clear browsing data option here in the settings area. And if you're on a desktop machine, normally you have some choices for how you get more if you click on the advanced one. But you can do some clearing without affecting anything in the Grid Designer. If you do clear this one that includes site data, and you kind of look for the word site data, then that is something that will affect what you have saved in your browser, the projects that you might have saved. And so clearing this will affect your projects. Let me show you also in Microsoft Edge. Very similar. You go into its settings area and look for something about clearing your browsing data, and you'll see some very similar options here. Clearing this site data area, that's the area that will affect your projects. And so that's the thing that you don't really want to do that. Probably you don't want to do that for all of your other sites because things are being saved there too, even though you may not even be aware of it. So that is the area that will affect the projects that you save. And so in the event that something might happen with your browser and someone might suggest clearing all your data out or something like that to reset everything in your browser. Some people do that, have to do that from time to time to deal with some kind of issue that might come up in the browser. So in order to avoid losing any of your information, it's a good idea to make a backup. And this is true for just about every application that you ever use. Also, it's good to have a backup of what you're working on. Okay. So the way, oh, and I want to say one other thing about if you're on iPhone and iPad, you normally don't get these options. From my personal experience, there's only one checkbox and it clears everything. And so if you click that checkbox because you have to deal with some issue with your browser, then you want to make a backup before you do that, because that will clear everything, and you don't have the choices that you do on a desktop machine. Okay, so anyway, it's a good idea to make a backup of your projects. So in order to do that, we go to the project menu and scroll down to export. Okay, here are the current projects that I have that was currently working on. There's a select all button, which will select all of them. I'm going to remove one of them from the selection because I want to show a feature later on. So I'm going to do a backup of these 4. We'll assume that this one was not important to me, and so I didn't include it in my backup. But I selected these here, and then I click on the word export, on the button export. Okay. Then depending upon how your browser is set up to save files, you will either get a pop-up like this that will allow you to go to a particular folder on your machine and save it to. You can actually edit the file name. The default file name is projects.gridd. So that's the file extension for these type of files on your system. So if you have that set up so that you can, it will ask you for where you would like to put the file, then you will get a pop-up like this. If you do not have your browser download settings set to do that, then it will default to projects.grid and it will show up in the download folder that's used with your browser. And you can easily change those settings. And also in the settings, you can also see where your download folder is located. But I have mine set up so that I can save it anywhere I want. So I've got projects.grid here, and I'm going to save the file here in my demo directory. Okay, so that file contains those 4 projects that I just exported to it. And if you want to then see what the contents are of that file, go to project import. And then I guess I went through that a little fast here. Let me just, okay, so I went to project menu, import. Then I say select import file. And let's see, I was in a different directory. So I want to go back to where I was, demo. That's where I saved my projects.grid file. So I click on that file and I open it. And then I can see the 4 projects that I had saved to it. So I know that they are in that file, that it opened correctly, and everything is okay. Okay, if I import the same things that I just exported, like if I go into here and I open that file and just say import, I'll get this. Well, first of all, I need to select them. Okay. Then I say import. If I do the same files over again, then it checks to see whether those files are the same as the projects that you already have loaded into your browser. So in this case, all the projects are already loaded and are the same as the import file. So there's nothing there to import. Okay. All right, so then if I make a change, let's say I make a change to this particular project. I'm just going to go in here, pick the drawing tool, and just draw a little bit on the project. So I drew some yellow up there, okay, to make that different. And then I'll save it back so that I have those changes back. And then if let's say it's a later time, and I want to import my projects that I had saved, we go back here, we'll import the file that we just saved, and we open it here. If I select all and I say import, okay, then it will warn me that some of the projects in the import file have the same names as projects that are in browser storage, but they have different content. In other words, something has changed since I last exported this file, and you would kind of expect that to be the case. But what you are doing, if you have projects that are sitting there and you do an import of something older that you saved a while ago, then you're going to get the older project if you go ahead and continue. So we continue, we say yes. What it does is the project that was different will show up in this list as something that was imported to the browser storage. And you may actually want to do this. You may want to save something in a certain state and then play with it for a while. And maybe you don't like what you've got, so you go back to the original one. So that may be what what you one use for doing this in this particular way. But it will then load the one that was different, and the ones that were not different, that were the same, it will simply skip those. And if there are projects that were not in the backup that were sitting in your browser storage, like this one down here with Susie 50, we did not put that into the backup. So it was just sitting here in storage. The imported file, I just wanted to make sure you understand the imported file will not remove or 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 replace things that are not in that file. It will simply just add the things that were in that file to your current projects. And if they are named the same and are different, then it will overwrite them. Okay, so that's how that works. Okay, now I'm going to actually wipe out, deliberately go and wipe out my clear my site data. So I'm going to click on this one, which clears my site data. This is going to clear my projects out of memory. And then I'm going to use my backup to restore what I lost. So I'm going to say clear data. Okay. If you have a lot of data, and the first time I did this, it ran for quite a while because it will be clearing out all kinds of things from all of your other um, sites that you go to and things like that too. So it'll be clearing out a lot of stuff. Sometimes it can run for quite a while, but at this point I have already done a huge clear. So this is only clearing out the grid designer. Okay, at this point, what you'll see is that if somebody had to clear out all of the browser data, this is what you would see. You open your project menu and the open menu is grayed out. The open option is grayed out. Okay, that means that you have no projects currently in your browser storage. So you don't have anything here. So what we're going to do is we're going to restore from our file. So we pick our projects.grid file and we open it up. We see all of them here. We say select all, and then we say import. Okay, and then all of them are imported into browser storage. And now when you go to the open menu, then you have all of the projects back into in your storage, so that if you make a backup before somebody clears out the browser for some unforeseen reason, which should be very unusual, then this is the way you could restore your projects. Okay. Um, So now I'm going to show you how you can use a saved project as a library. So for instance, one of the things that I want to do is I want to take my Calvin rug. This is in a blog post on the freezeworks.com site. It's called Children's Latch Hook Name Rug. If you're interested in the project, I made a quilt for my grandson Calvin. And then I made a matching latch hook rug that looks like the top of that quilt. It has his name on it, and it's a rug that he can put by his bed. And now I have a new grandson whose name is Max. And this year I'll be making him a quilt. And next year I intend to make him a latch hook rug so that he has a quilt and a rug, just like his big brother. So so what I want to do is, I don't have very many projects right in here. You can store quite a few more projects in your browser than these four. But to clear out, I might want to clear out space, and I might want to remove some things, and I want to save them somewhere else so I don't lose them, so I have them later. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this Calvin rug project, and I'm going to put it into an exported file. And then I'm thinking like, well, next year I can load that up and then I can change the name in it and it'll look just exactly the same size and everything else as the original rug. And I can put Max in there instead of Calvin. Okay, so that was the open project menu. So I want to go first to export. Okay, so this is like what I would do if I want to clear out some things from my browser storage, make more room for other projects and things like that, or save things that I don't need to look at right now. So I go in here, I pick on Calvin Rug, and in this case, I'm picking only one project, but you can pick multiple projects and put them all in one file together. I'm just going to keep it very simple. I'm going to take my Calvin Rug and say export. And if your browser settings are set up to do this, then so that you can see the name and the folder that it's going into, then this will pop up. If not, then it will name it another, it will make another name. The browser will make up another name like projects1.grid, and it will show up in your downloads folder for your browser. You could then rename it or do whatever you want with it if you want to work it that way. But I prefer to set my browser so that I can tell it where I want my downloads to go. In this case, I'm going to change the name to, what should I call it? A name rugs. We'll call it name rugs. Okay. Because I'm eventually going to have both these rugs in here. And if I ever want to make another one, then I know that I have these saved off, and I could pick them up and, clear out the name and make another name and do another one. Okay, so name rugs, I'm going to save it to there. Okay, so now save to name rugs. I'm just going to close that little doodad at the bottom there. Okay, and then if I want to see that it actually did save it, I'll go to import, pick up the name rugs file, and just see that yes, there is one project in there called Calvin Rug, and it's in that file called namerugs.gridd. So I've got it saved off, and it's good and secure. And at this point, if I was clearing out clearing out my projects, saving them off to files and things, I would pick project delete by list. Let me just show you that again. Project delete by list. Okay. And then out of this list of projects, I would pick my Calvin Rug and say delete. And that would clear it out. So in that sense, I've got my project cleared out of my browser storage that I'm working with, and I've got it saved off into a file, which I opened and verified that it's sitting there. So, so I know that it's been saved off to another file. Now, let's assume that it's like 1 year later, and now I want to make my Max rug. So I go to my project menu, and then I pick import, and then I select my import file, which is the name rugs. Okay. And so I can see when I do this, and you can also, if you have lots of different files that you've saved things to, you can keep clicking this button and you can pick up a different project and see what's in that one. So you can look through, you can browse through your files and see what's in them. It'll show you the little picture of a part of your project and its name and stuff. So you can kind of browse through the file. So name rugs is the one that I saved this to. We're pretending a year ago. And so I'm going to pick up Calvin Rug. I click on that one. And this time, instead of saying import, I could import it back in, but I can also add it as a library. And I'm going to show you how that works. So I click Add Library, and it says Library imported successfully. It will appear in the list of projects to open under Project Open. So let's go look at Project Open. Project Open. Okay, and now I have these 3 other projects that I had, and then I've got Calvin Rug. And this is under namerugs.grid. So at the bottom of the list of projects, you will see a little section that's the section for the things that were in that little library file, that were in that project file that you had saved. Namerugs.grid has Calvin Rug in it. So I can now select that project, say open it. So I now have my Calvin Rug here. And now what I want to do is I'm going to save this in a new project. If I did a save right now, it would save it into browser storage with the same name as it had in the library file, in the project file. So I want to do a save as, and it wants to pick Calvin Rug 2 because it's trying to come up with a unique name that's different. I'm going to change it to Max Rug, and we'll say save. That's a good thing to do. As soon as you load something from the library, you're gonna be saving it into browser storage when you make changes to it. So I would give it a name using save as right after you load something from a library. Okay, so now we're going to change this name to um, to um, to Max. I'm going to do that by, this is the select tool down here. I click the select tool. I'm going to select all of this text here and make sure my background is set to white. So that's good. Then when I clear this, I pick clear all. It will clear everything that's right in the middle of that selected area. So that's what I want to do. I'm going to get rid of the old name, and now I'm going to put a new name in. Okay, so we'll click on Draw Text. Then if it's the first time you're doing it, these little help things pop up. And it's popping up because I cleared memory a while, cleared browser storage a little bit back there. So those are popping up just as if it was a new installation. Okay, then we select an area to draw our text in. Just, it doesn't have to be perfect because we can move it around and we can resize the text and we can change the text. All when we get in here, it just needs to have a starting place. So I'm going to type in Max. And the font that I used before was called Baloo. And it was 30 in height. Whoops. Okay, so it's 30 in height. And we need to get it kind of centered. So when you're dragging this around, you'll notice that there are pop-ups that come up on the upper right corner and the lower left corner that show you positioning information. The first set of parentheses are the row numbers. It's a row number from the top, comma, number of rows from the bottom. So that's row information. And the second parentheses is column information. So it's number of columns from the left, comma, number of columns from the right. So you have something centered, from left to right when the number of columns on the right side is the same as the number of columns on the left side. So if we put it right about here, what we've got is 50, 131 on the lower left bottom, and we've got 130, 51 on the upper right. So 50, 51, 50 from the left, 51 from the right is what that means. And there's no way to really center that because if I move it over one, then I'm going to get 5150. That's because I've got an even number of, or an odd number of things in my drawing. Okay, so there's no way to get it exactly in the center. It's because it's going to be off by one. So I'm just going to leave it there at 5150. And then when I let go of that and I leave it in that position, then I can see with my mouse exactly where the top of the characters are. So we've got, if I look now at the row numbers, this is 20 from the top, 20, 47. So it's 20 from the top. And if I come down here, this is 23 from the bottom. So it's a little far up. So I'm going to move it down one. Let's move it down one notch. So now we've got 21 from the top and 22 from the bottom. I think that I would rather have it down one more. So we've got 22 from the top and 21 from the bottom. So it's a little closer to the bottom than it is to the top. And then I'm going to put it in place there. So I'm going to click on the Apply Text to Grid button. And now I've got my yellow letters out here. Now, there is a new option called the Outline tool. That's here. This will outline an area. So it's, if you click on it, it says using the mouse, click on the grid to outline areas with the foreground color. You can also outline with the background color by using the right mouse button, and you can cancel by clicking the green outline button again. So we could cancel it by clicking this again. I say got it, and close my thing. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put an outline, and I want it to be the same dark blue as whatever I put on the outside here. So I want to outline these colors with and I have to pick the foreground color to outline with. If I click on Show Used, then it shows me only the white, the yellow, and the blue that I'm currently using. So I pick on blue, okay? Then I take my outline tool, which looks like a little circle. It's going to put an outline around this letter when I click on the letter. So I click on the letter and I get an outline all the way around it. I click on the next letter and outline that, and click on the next letter and outline that. If anyone watched my previous video when I created this Calvin name rug, I sat there and clicked on all the little edge pieces, one pixel at a time, and that is no longer necessary. So now we have an edge tool, and I've used this in a couple of different instances, and I'll be showing another video at some point where I'm doing some knitting a little car on the front of a sweater for Calvin. And so I'll be showing how nice that is. It's really nice for outlining little things, especially for kids, where you do a lot of drawing where you want an outline on the outside of something, and they'll do that very easily and nicely, and very simply. So now we've got the max letters here. Now we want probably, I'm going to do red, yellow, and blue, I think, or something like that. So let's go in. We're going to have to pick a new color here. I want my labels. Let's go down and pick, I think there's a bright red in here. This is the this palette that I'm using is the Hirschner's Latch Hook Yarn, pre-cut latch hook yarn kit. So I'm going to click on this, and I want to make that red, that bright red. And then we're going to pick a blue. Let's do like cornflower for the X. And now we've got something that looks very much like my original rug for the next grandchild. So I'm going to go and save that. Okay. Then the next thing I would do, is print it out, work on the rug, do all those things that I want to do. I could then make a backup of everything after I've done this, so that I've got a backup of all my current stuff that I'm working on, as I showed you in the first part of this video. But I want to also put this particular rug into the same export file, that same library file with the other rug. So I have both my rugs in the same file. And this is how I would do that. So let's assume it's sometime later. Okay. I'm coming in here, I've got my max rug, and I want to take my max rug and I want to put it in the same file with the other rug. Okay. So what I do is I go to import first. I find the file that I want to put it in. So I pick name rugs grid. That's the one that had the Calvin rug in it. And I select all. I say add library. Add library. Okay, and it loads it as a library as we did before. Now I want to go to export. Okay. Then I have my file that it has, if it had more than one, it would be multiple things here. This will do, clicking select where the name of the file is, will select all the projects that are in that file. In this case, there's only one, but I can select that. And then I want to add to that my max rug. So I've got everything that was in the file originally. I'm adding to it max rug. And then I want to say export. Okay, so now I'm going to just pick the same file that I had before, and I'm going to overwrite that file. You can also save it to another file if you want to do that and verify that the two things are in there before you delete the other file, but I'm just going to overwrite this one because I want both of these to now be in here. So I say save, and it asks me if I want to replace it, and I say yes. Okay. And now if I go to import and select that file, now I see that I have both of them in there. So now I've got both of my rugs in the same file for later. So if I ever want to make this rug again, I have the projects saved off and all ready to go. Okay. Um, well, I want to thank you for watching all the way through here. Oh, I want to let you know also that if you want more detailed information on import and export, if you go to either one of these, either the import or the export dialog, and click on the help icon, these little question mark help icons will take you to the documentation that is for that particular area. So if I click on that, it will open another tab in your browser, and you get export and import. So you can see, more information on that there. Okay. All right. Well, anyway, thank you for watching. If you're interested in future videos, please click the subscribe button that's on the lower right of this video, or the subscribe button on my channel, which is called Grid Designer. And thank you very much thanks again for watching, and bye-bye.